Salute, everyone. This is the Migrant podcast. I'm Matt. So slowly going sane in the insane world. This is Rowan.
Hello, I'm here once again, joining Matt and Zarek.
Zhakaron.
Hello, hello.
So how will you start out, Zarek?
I'm doing very well, but here's the thing. You guys chose the day of the Super Bowl to do this recording, and my family, my wife, my mother, my in-laws, everyone are big Super Bowl fans. Me, not so much, but I have to participate in the family rituals, so let's get this moving along. I am Zarek Zhakaron. I do Skyrim, I do Morrowind, I do open world stuff. I do modding, that's me. So, good to be back for the second time, and let's get this rolling.
Excellent.
All right. Well, today, while we talk with Zarek, basically our topics today are basically trademark, copyright, and basically trademark, copyright, and patent stuff, and related to YouTube because they're online content things. So the Sony trademark, Fine Brothers, and somewhat niche film that doesn't seem to get a lot of attention, but it's a big deal, is the Star Trek Axanar project, and maybe some other project or other subjects if we have time.
All right. What would you like to cover first?
First thing, I want to start with the definitions of trademark, copyright, and patent. So I have dictionary.com up here. Copyright, an exclusive right to make copies, license, and otherwise exploit literary, musical, or artistic work. Trademark, any name, symbol, figure, letter, word, or mark adapted and used by a manufacturer to merchant in order to distinguish his or her goods, to distinguish them from manufacturers or sold by others. And patent is exclusive right granted by the government and to an inventor to manufacture, use, and sell an invention for a certain number of years.
So I like how that word exploit is
Yep.
used right in there in
Yes.
copyright.
Mhm.
To exploit a product.
But here's the thing. Okay, I've had several copyrighted works done under pen names, so if you search Zarek Zhakaron, you're not going to find it. Anyway, the point is that copyright is something that is intrinsic to a work you create, meaning if I created a YouTube video and it's all 100% owned by me, then I already have a copyright on that, even if it isn't a registered copyright. However, trademark is something that's a little bit different. Trademarks are actually something that defines your brand, and while there are DCMA copyright claim abilities on YouTube, there is no framework for copyright takedowns applying to trademarks. So it's very interesting, this legal gray zone we're in here with YouTube. And I believe you're going to be talking about a very specific topic with copyright and trademark, and I'll wait on any other comments until then.
All right, so first thing I think we should actually, so our topics are from corporation filing a copyright or trademark on Let's Play, an individual creator filing a copyright and trademark, and while I'm on the side of Axanar is using copyrighted work that is not for money, they're not selling the product, but they have made money to make a Star Trek fan film. And it's kind of iffy of how CBS has dealt with it, and that's why I'm on the side of Axanar.
Okay.
Well,
So we're going to start with Fine Brothers.
Yeah.
So your initial thoughts, Eric?
Well, I did a podcast with Top Hats and Champagne called Top Hats and Monocles, where I actually based the entire podcast around that specific topic, where it's the Fine Brothers. And I think it's just corporate greed run amok. These people espouse that they really wanted to be big Hollywood people. And every time someone in Hollywood actually ignores them and does something similar, they blamed them. The Fine Brothers don't understand the difference between a format, a brand, and what their actual show is. And keep in mind, they only have control over their brand. The oldest reaction video was done in the 1900s. It was like where this guy stood in a movie theater in front of the movie theater screen and was flipping out over a train, like, moving toward the screen. So,
oh, yeah.
yeah.
I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is that reaction videos are nothing new, and the Fine Brothers, because we haven't even talked about the Fine Brothers yet, the Fine Brothers are people who do reaction videos. That's their format. and their brand is Kids React, Elders React. These are and Teens React. Those are their brands. Now, if someone uses that specific brand and tries to confuse people into thinking this is a Fine Brothers video, then they actually have action against those people. But, on the other hand, if someone just sits in front of a thing and starts reacting to stuff, they have no legal recourse whatsoever, as far as I know. Keep in mind, I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
I'm merely surrounded by experts. Anyway, the way it works is, to my knowledge, they have been taking down channels that get too big for their britches, as it were. This is just what I've heard. And so, like, everyone's firestorm about them trademarking the word react is just kind of, it's ludicrous, in my opinion. But I want to hear what you guys have to say on the topic.
Rowan?
I would say that I almost feel a little bit bad for them because I'm not sure they realize what the public's reaction to their move would be. I can understand wanting to protect what you make. And the problem being is that what they've made is something that's a really generic title. So to say that I couldn't make a video, Rowan reacts to Fallout 4, because React now belongs to the Fine Brothers, seems a little bit heavy-handed. Now to say you can't use, Fine Brothers, React, well, that makes sense. Fine Brothers is their brand. They created that. I can't imagine there's too many other people that have stated they're the Fine Brothers. So I can see why they may have felt it was important, but I also feel like they took a very greedy move, and the public has recognized that fact.
Let me tell you something really quick. You used a word in that sentence. You said it's general. It's generic. You said
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When a trademark becomes generalized, it becomes a publicly accepted term. That trademark actually loses all its power under the law. Like, for example, Kleenex.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, exactly. So
Band-Aid.
Okay, so again, you're about to say that. Go wild.
Yeah. Generalizations, basically, you can't trademark something that's general. It'd be like saying...
Candy.
Yeah. Candy. Yep. We have a very famous example of Candy Crush trying to do that. I'm going to trademark the word hello. Nobody can use it now.
There's actually, ironically for this, I was listening to an NPR piece. There's a guy that has a patent or copyright trademark on podcasts, and he claims everyone that has done a podcast owes him money.
Well, he can have fun trying to collect that.
Yeah. And then there's a business of corporations just buying patents and copyright and then suing these small companies to make money.
It is interesting though, because Let's Plays with a Z is trademarked. It is an actual brand, and the thing is that was the original source of rejection for Sony's trademark claim.
Really?
Yeah. Originally, Sony tried to trademark Let's Play, and this is very scary to me because I do Let's Plays. So they tried to trademark the whole term, and the patent office came back with, you can't do that because Let's Plays is too similar and would get confused. Sony challenged it. After Sony challenged it, they came back with, after an investigation, this is a generalized term. It is used far too much, therefore you cannot have it. And now we are free from Let's Play ever being trademarked because the patent office has registered it as a generalized term.
Until they register it, then it's up for anybody to grab.
Exactly. Here's what happens. These terms that are not recognized as generalized, what happens is after, I think 30 days after a trademark is put up for application, it enters what's known as the opposition phase, and where the public has to publicly explain to the office why this should not be. And what happened is, with the Fine Brothers anyway, it never even reached that point. What happened is there was a post called Lawyers React, and in which this very large law firm based in, I believe, New York, one of like the third largest law firms, said, we are going to put our top 3 people on this pro bono, and we are going to oppose this because I, the majority partner, am pissed off. And so that in my opinion is what really drove the Fine Brothers to pull their trademarks back.
And the thing about trademarks is you have to actively pursue it after you do it. So they would have to go after all the YouTubes and everything. That actually goes into the Axonar thing a little bit. But my opinion on the Fine Brothers. So originally I was somewhat of a defender. I think they may have just done a oops, and they're suffering for it accidentally. But the more and more I hear about it, taking this as secondhand information, they've gone after copyright stuff and just their behavior, going after Ellen and
Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon, yes.
Oh,
And it's just why? And I'm
Right.
okay. You
to my
guys
knowledge, Ellen ignored them, and Jimmy Fallon publicly laughed at them. To my knowledge.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So the thing, they just keep doing this, and then they seem more like businessmen doing stuff, and I'm still subscribed to them, but if I hear any more bad stuff, I might change that. As for a certain YouTuber I like, calling them talentless hacks, I disagreed with that while listening to his podcast, and I was thinking, well, the content they have is easy to make, but the organization bringing people together to come over and do this, not to mention the sets and everything to make it, that requires some talent, not artistic, but administrative.
Administrative, that's exactly right. What they've done is they've taken a format that other people have done before, and they've simply refined it. But that doesn't give them ownership of that format. It gives them ownership of the brand that they have built. In other words, the Fine Brothers, the Teens React, keep in mind that those brands have an exclamation point at the end. And that's important because like that is literally their brand, meaning if someone puts Teens React without the exclamation point, they're okay, as long as they're not trying to rip off the brand. And the burden of proof is on the Fine Brothers, although the YouTube copyright DMCA system does not recognize that fact, and that is very problematic.
Yeah, so they do have that one, like 50 spoilers from this month that they do, which is them reacting and doing a scripting thing, which is impressive. So that is somewhat creative. But what I was thinking is they should have created a physical product to license or sell to YouTubers to use their brand instead of actually done a trademark or anything. And if they trademark or something, they should be the style, the art style. Even do merchandises with React World on the T-shirt. And sell that stuff instead.
Here's another question. Who were they threatened by that they needed to try and trademark React? Who was muscling in on it?
There's this guy that used to work for him. I believe it's the Reddit commentator, so take it with a grain of salt. He said they have a list of people they are watching, and if they get too big, they copyright them.
That's what I've heard. They're using their parent company Fullscreen like a club to take down smaller channels that could, in theory, threaten them.
That's funny, because you know what that sounds like? That sounds like mafia tactics, taking down smaller gangs before they get too big.
Okay, there's a guy on Reddit. His name is the Video Game Lawyer. Literally, that's what he goes by.
Yeah.
And he did a whole thing on how they could have done this right and how it would have been a great deal for, say, like, if you wanted to do an Italian or a Indonesian-based...
Localization.
Yeah, a localization, exactly. But they used actual people from those locales in order to create a market that was, still benefiting the Fine Brothers, but then these independent people could go ahead and do that. The problem is there's no quality control. This guy basically went into detail about how the Fine brothers could have done this kind of like Burger King, or kind of like
franchise.
franchised it out properly. They compared it in their React World video originally to like American Idol and stuff like that. But the thing is that American Idol would never just let anybody use their brand. They would very specifically choose which people were deserving of that brand, which ones would actually put in the monetary investment to make the show good. And what it ultimately boils down to is what you just said there, a racket, a mafia tactics. That is anyone who doesn't subscribe to our pay for our private umbrella of protection gets the club. And that is exactly what it is. It's a racket, and we don't want that.
At this point, it's a lot of the talk about the Fine brothers is rehashing old stuff because they've taken away everything, not because they wanted to, but because they have to, because lawyers are going after them, and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that funny? They poked the hornet's nest, and now they've got a swarm of angry bees.
The scary thing is, if they didn't make that video, they may have gotten away with it.
They may have gotten away with it, exactly. And
if it weren't for those meddling kids.
Well, if they had just waited and been like, oh, by the way, now we own this, so too bad.
And then they would have lost a subscriber count after they heard about this, but they would still own the trademark.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now they've won nothing.
There's a live stream of them counting down. I've watched
Ouch.
it for a little bit with it just playing music.
Okay, actually, if you do a Google search for Fine Brothers subscriber count, you do a Google search for that, you'll see Fine Brothers subscribers over time. I'm going to go ahead and give you a link to that right now in the chat here. And
it's offline.
No, this is very online. You can look in the chat here, and you will see a graph and how it's leveled off. But it's still they're losing 44 subscribers per minute currently, and it's going down.
Oh,
yes.
Oh wow!
It's dropping exponentially. But you can see how they went from roughly 14,080,000 subscribers down to 13,600,007.
It's very similar to if a company makes a bad decision and then their stock
goes
to
down.
plummet.
Exactly. Yep. This is more or less consumer faith. Mm-hmm. People having faith in their brand. And if you look underneath the real-time counter over to links, you will see update on the below link. They still haven't removed their copyright. Apology and removal. They're still terrible people. And it's as bad as it looks. Attorneys react, and there's a trademark on Attorneys React.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But...
Jeez.
To be honest, I don't think anyone deserves online harassment as it comes on the internet.
That's right.
This is somewhat given if their behavior is to be true.
Well, let me say something really quick. The Fine brothers themselves were condoning the harassment of Ellen and Jimmy Fallon, so they're getting a taste of their own medicine. Now, as far as harassment of them goes, they made a public statement, and now they're dealing with the backlash of that public statement.
It's the same thing as any, public official stating something obviously very stupid and that anyone in their right mind should know people are going to find offensive, and then being extremely surprised when people are pulling their support, they're losing funding, and basically the general public just wants nothing to do with them.
At that point, I wouldn't have made an apology video. I would just remove the announcement, and then a day or two later release a statement saying we've removed all the trademarks. Thank you for your patronage.
The thing is that if you read their apology, there is no apology in the apology.
It's just trying to restate it.
A non-apology apology. I love those.
All right. Anything else to say on the Fine brothers, as it's kind of been rehashed a little bit?
No, I think that about covers it. So
that were basically my thoughts. I'm starting to lead on the opposite end of the argument. Let's Play. Anything to say on that? Since
here's the thing: is
gone away.
Let's Play and the Fine brothers. All of this is the beginning of the convergence of media on YouTube. I believe one of the lawyers actually said that at some point. But more or less, it's the idea that everything is getting corporatized. I mean, let's face it. If I had the opportunity, I would create a corporation out of my channel and start raking in the cash. I don't deny that fact because I want to make this a living at some point.
Yeah.
So
I think everyone that, starts to get into this and starts making a lot of content sees the appeal in doing it for a living.
Yeah.
But what I'm leading into is that in order to be truly successful, you can't stay independent. You have to gather with like-minded individuals in a similar fashion that we are and actually create a profit-sharing venture known as a YouTube network. These networks eventually acquire one another, and trademarks are created. Domains have their invisible lines drawn through trademarks and branding, and before you know it, you have what Hollywood has now, where you have all these intellectual properties floating around and no one can use the others except if you look. There's, instead of Alien versus Predator, it's called like Extraterrestrials versus Hunter and stuff like that. Like you'll find knockoff brands which are just different. To quote Futurama, "We resemble but are legally distinct from the Lollipop Guild."
True words have
How
never
do you
been
become
spoken.
neutral?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to see more of this convergence, but at the same time, I believe that we've created a temporary resistance to this convergence with the very much angry public.
Okay.
Where there's money to be had, corporations will arise. It is the nature of the financial beast. No matter, what the intentions are originally, where there's profit to be gained, people seeking to find ways to control that profit, it's going to happen.
All right.
For good or for bad.
One thing I do like about YouTube is basically the capitalistic, pure democracy philosophy being born. Because if you make a mistake, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Or a really stupid one like what we just discussed.
Yeah,
That's
if
right.
you put a video and people react very badly to it, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
The internet basically transcends borders and mostly cultures. And it's more of amalgamation of stuff.
It is. And I think the YouTube is really one of the futures of entertainment. You look at the number of young people watching it, that number is climbing astronomically fast.
If you, I don't know, it's somewhat related to Star Trek. If you ever went to Gene Roddenberry's Perfect Future, I always thought, that's not realistic in a physical sense, but if you compare it to the internet, that's far more resistant. Like, all your basic needs are met. Then you just spend whatever time you have on the internet. And there's even currencies that, for example, the Latinum in DS9, where basically what I saw for Star Trek was Star Trek provided all the basic necessities. Anything special, you would need other currencies. Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Or Eve Online, for example.
Oh my goodness! Well, literally there's the Plex, but then in EVE Online there's the Plex currency, but then there's it's hilarious because there are credits in the game, but here, let me explain. Plex stands for Pilot Extension Licenses. Basically, it's game time. Okay, so literally a month of game time sells for in-game currency. So people who have real life money, an excess amount, will buy these months of game time and then sell them on the open market for in-game currency, and that's literally how the EVE Online economy works. And it's amazing because if you play enough and you play smart enough, you never have to pay a single dime for your gameplay, whereas
I'd rather just pay.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna play it.
That's why World of Warcraft, after all these years, finally did the same thing, which I'm surprised they took so long.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to kill the gold seller market by giving people an actual alternative. You see, the thing is that, like, software piracy and stuff, it's all due to a lack of easy access. I mean, there are always people who are going to pirate software, but they won't do it if there's a Steam sale where they can get that game for $5. Not most people.
Yeah, so I guess onto the Axanar one, I will go first because I'm the most invested in this. Outright saying this, I'm not a pure Star Trek fan. I like it. It's one of the top 3 star franchises of the 90s to early 2000s.
Babylon 5.
Boo.
You can't forget Babylon 5. Come on.
I'm Farscape, but I'm ultimately a Stargate fan. But basically, what they're doing is there's been other ones called, I think, Star Trek Continuity or Continues. They've raised money, but it looks like green screen and sets and everything. They raised
Yeah.
like $800,000, and CBS, these Axanar guys, they've made a prelude to Axanar. It was a pitch, everything. They went and talked to CBS. What do we have to do to not infringe on their copyright? They didn't give them any guidelines, and they said, "We'll let you know when you've went over the edge." So they went ahead and doing this. I'm pretty sure they preemptive thinking this is going to happen. They went over and raised a fundraiser of $1 million, and they're professionals making a fan film, so it looks nice. To be honest, at some points it looks better than the Abrams film.
Yeah.
So they raised the money. They're building the sets and everything, which they have stated after we're done with the Axanar project, we're going to keep the sets, so license out to it. But that's just a fringe benefit of them doing the side project. It's primarily for Axanar. The idea is they've crowdfunded this. The money would have not come anyway. They're not selling it. The money's coming before the fact, and the movie's going to the movie's going to be put out there for free. And they have some rewards that may be a little iffy that they promise to contributors, like they get a physical or a Blu-ray that they're going to give to them if they give them X amount of money. So that's somewhat selling it, but this ultimately comes down to that they're providing a service. And CBS, this comes from like the core Star Trek fans and everything that have produced this money. CBS comes in and says, "You're infringing on our copyright for damages and IP. We are suing you." So they're basically putting it in, you've gotten a lot of money, you look professional, we want that money. But the problem is, damages monetarily, that money would have not come to you any other way. You have not been using Star Trek to the community's best interest, so that wouldn't be it. And IP-wise, this is going to be in the corner of the internet. It's already a niche product as it is. It may be spread around the internet, but it's not going to be confused for your product because it won't be on TV and it won't be on movies. So the weird thing is, this is coincidentally coming out when they're putting it behind a Star Trek series behind a paywall for their version of Hulu and Netflix.
That's
And then
exactly
Star Trek Beyond is coming out as well.
When they told them that, don't worry, we will let you know as soon as you copyright infringe, what they meant was, don't worry, we'll hit you with a lawsuit the minute we think you've copyright infringed. Don't you worry.
The thing I find the most ironic is they're essentially suing the core fan base that they want to come in and look at this series that's behind a paywall too. It's like, CBS, what are you doing?
Okay.
And I understand that you have to protect your trademark, copyright, and everything. You have to go out and actively do that. There's a way to do it without just saying, "Oh, this guy woke up on New Year's Day and says, 'Oh, CBS is suing me after I've worked with them in the past,' when they could have just say, 'Hey, we're doing this mandatory lawsuit thing. Let's go behind closed doors and come to agreement.'" They could even license Axanar as a special project and sell it.
As much as I hate to take their side, here's the problem. They didn't seek out an official license first. And I hate to say it, but fan projects have always been subject to takedowns. Always. And the thing is that, as for the lawsuit, I know why the lawsuit's happening. Direct competition with a mainstream product. That's where the damages come in. If for any reason fans are led to believe that this fan product is superior to the series that's coming out, then there is actual tangible damage to their brand seen. They're weakened as creators. And, again, I don't agree with this. I think that they should have licensed out Star Trek in order to be able to do this properly. But let's face it, corporate greed, once again. It's a case of they saw that their brand could have been damaged, and they wanted to defend their brand.
Makes you wonder if they would have taken action if they thought it looked like it was going to be a flop.
They're going action because it looks nice, because those other fan films have raised money and they don't look that nice. And that's the guy has stated in his response is they're going after us because we're professionals working on a fan product. I do want to point out there was a modding project that I followed for a while related to WB. It was called the Middle Earth Role-Playing Project, where basically you get to play the Lord of the Rings game in the Skyrim engine. And it was just in pre-alpha, whatever, pre-production.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, a game came out, and this mod would have taken years to come out and everything. But 2 years before that game came out, they sent out a cease and desist at the mod authors and shut them down.
Mm-hmm.
And the game that came out was Shadow of Mordor.
Yep.
Doesn't surprise me.
But I don't
do you
see
know,
any damages coming out for that product because it would take so long to come out.
Do you know who sent out the cease and desist though? Because it might be there's a
It was WB.
It was WB. Okay, here's the deal. We don't I don't know personally who owns the actual intellectual property rights to
WB owes the movie licenses, but they have to do it on permission from the state that owns the token.
I was going to
books.
say that okay, in that case it's very possible that WB didn't have the authority. I'm saying it's possible.
Yeah.
We have money, we're going to bully you.
Yeah,
That's
we have money, we're
essentially
going to bully you. Exactly.
Yep.
Because here's the thing is that the original intellectual property owners, not licensees, have the authority to take you down for something, especially if it's not within the domain of the license. So if the domain of the license is specific to, say, movies, and you're making a video game adaptation, then they may not have standing. It's very possible.
They did have license to video games because of Shadow of Mordor, but that was also they didn't name it Lord of the Rings, so that could have been.
It's true. They didn't name
This
it
is
Lord of the
basically the guy who played the Goblin in Spider-Man 3, Wizard of Oz.
Interesting.
Well, he played it was about the wizard himself that went to Oz.
Oh, Oz the movie. Yes.
Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yes.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
This is basically the Shadow of Mordor is the Lord of the Rings equivalent of that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, adding on to this subject, one thing I've noticed is this is basically a large-scale version of cosplayers and indie artists at cons.
Exactly.
The reason from what I see is the reason the companies don't go after them is it's too much of a hassle. So instead, oh, we like this, we embrace it, you could do it, and the real reason is we don't have the resources to go after every single one of them. So just go do it.
Here's the thing is Napster. When Napster was originally a thing, and there was a lady who had like 16,000 songs, this company went after her hard to be like an example to all the other pirators. And the thing is that she like had 5 kids and she was single. Okay, so they put her in debt for God knows how much, and it created so much negative PR. They didn't want to go on living. But it didn't. They weren't able to see a dime of that because she was financially destitute already.
Yeah.
So they lost huge amounts of money putting their top lawyers on this, and I think ever since then, people looking to do the same thing have thought, are we actually going to be able to get our money back? And the answer 99% of the time is no. But in the case of this Kickstarter, they see deep pockets now because $1 million, let's get at least half of that.
Yeah, and the other thing is with YouTube and the trademark license, the reason they could go after them is because there's a system in place. So they say, oh, this doesn't cost us anything. Click a button and copyright strike them.
Yep.
That's true. And it's kind of sad, and I understand that it's too difficult for them to police it, but that the burden of proof is on the person who now has to defend the content they put on YouTube, rather than the person accusing has to provide proof saying, here's why this is copyright.
Yeah, which is the reverse of the way it should be.
A system I understand from a corporate standpoint is like there's too much of hassle. They don't have the facilities. It would cost them too much money. That's why it favors creators.
But you're guilty until proven innocent.
The intended system I would like is they put a copyright strike. The video is hidden and there's no strike on the guy's account, and they have to argue why this video isn't theirs, or they could put this is copyrighted and the creator has to remove it and then re-upload it.
And don't forget the 3 strikes you're out rule that can shut down a whole channel.
That is silly. Like,
did you hear about the guy who was who put up a video of him taking a sledgehammer to a panda disc? And his channel was removed flat out for community guidelines violations.
What?
Yes, it was 1 strike, you're out. And he was like, what the hell is happening? So I believe that Jim Sterling, Boogie2988, a bunch of people followed it. And all of a sudden, as soon as those people followed it, his channel's back up. And but until then, he's like, "What the hell happened? My channel's been suspended." Literally, he got 2 emails. One, you've committed a community guidelines violation. The second is your account has been disabled due to grievous violations or something like that.
Question: when they do the disable the account, do they disable the whole Google account, including like emails related to it, or just the channel?
I don't think so. I think what ends up happening is when you go to YouTube, you get a message that basically it looks like a blank page, but then
Your channel's not here.
there's a little banner at the top that says it's been disabled. Yeah.
Okay.
Move along. No channel here. Nothing to see. Go away.
Pretty much. Yeah, all your videos gone. No, his videos were restored. Everything about his thing was restored.
What was the community thing? He's just destroying property. I've seen videos where they destroy Xboxes and PlayStation 4s to do stress tests.
The thing is that I don't know. It was a horrible movie. He reviewed it, and at the end of his review, he physically destroyed the copy.
So the company that owned the movie probably filed the claim.
But it was a community guideline strike, not a DCMA takedown strike.
That's weird. I've seen Angry Joe do worse stuff on his videos.
Absolutely.
Not as destructive, but visually.
I'm not subscribed to Angry Joe, but I do check out his big title
Watch
reviews.
his Sonic 3 Writers video.
Okay. But yeah,
I don't watch him very often either, so I'm with
he's
you
funny. I don't completely agree with everything he says, but I like his stuff.
I was gonna say his skits are worth watching at the very least.
The reviews, that's what I watch. I don't watch any of his live streams or anything.
No, what I said is, like, in his reviews, he has skits that he does, like little plays, which they're comedy, and it's funny because like you'll see him with in a vault suit and a Pip-Boy. You know?
I forgot to water the plants. Where's my son?
Exactly. So it's always worth watching just for that. I remember his Elder Scrolls Online review, and I think about how much flack Elder Scrolls Online gets to this day because people just watched the review and never tried the game. And it's like you do realize that the game has been completely overhauled since then. I mean, it's not a good MMO. It had the potential to be the best MMO ever made, but it's a little worse than World of Warcraft now, which, you know, it's still high quality. And I people are judging it not based on what it is, but based on what Angry Joe said on release.
Yeah. That's a little bit
I think that's why
unfair.
Joe has started saying, on release, this is the rating.
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen in some of his recent videos. Oh, okay, so any final thoughts on the Axinar thing?
Well, it concerns me because fan
projects should be allowed to exist.
projects benefits the fandom, so to speak.
Star Wars embraces it.
Yeah, and the question is, you know, should fan projects be something that the people that own the IP, you know, embrace and try to, you know, encourage, or should they be stamped out, you know, as some cancerous growth that must be, you know, destroyed before it causes them financial loss?
Okay.
I mean,
All right, I do have one thing. I know this used to be like a trend in YouTube. I intend no copyright infringement and everything, and that's BS and everything, but on this certain case, if they talk with a company, this is not a product. It's not our copyright. Do not mistake it at the start of it.
Yeah.
If they say that, would that be more fine on this set of circumstances?
Here's the thing. I was going to say that if at any point in time a user base could confuse this with with the actual product, that is when actual damages can be filed. I mean, in theory, actual damages can be filed for anything, but what I'm saying is like reasonably. What we'd say is you have to differentiate. You have to say this is a fan film and not official. You literally have to, in my perfect world, you would have to print that in big bold text, like on the, you know, and for a minimum of 5 seconds to give people time to read it, and then that would alleviate the burden of you know, confusing it with an official product in my mind. Now, keep in mind that the other companies don't see it that way. They saw deep pockets. They wanted to take the money. Now, and it was just an excuse to do so.
Yeah,
But
well, yeah, that money would not come any other way.
exactly. What I think is that I love the idea of fan projects. I mean, I've done a video recently where I said, "What if Oblivion was good?" And I did my own little fan fiction on it. Bethesda could say, "You're violating our copyright." Like, oh my God, seriously? But
Well, they could. I mean, there's
yeah.
nothing to say they can't. But
But you can see, like, I titled it a subjective piece of fan fiction.
yeah.
I went out of my way to explain this is not the official product. And I believe that anyone who does fan fiction has a responsibility, especially if it's in video format that can be confused. They have a responsibility to differentiate the two. Otherwise, you are potentially damaging the brand,
At least monetized projects.
especially monetized projects.
I'm not sure if either of you are familiar with Captain Sparkles at all. He was producing his own game for iPhone and Android. And this is before Fallout 4 and Fallout Shelter got announced.
I have a
Yeah.
fun story.
Yeah, he wanted to name his game Fortress Fallout. And he actually filed a patent for it. And I remember I saw he put up a video stating Fortress Fallout is no go. He received a copyright. I'm not sure if it was a copyright document, but basically a letter from Bethesda's lawyers stating you are not able to use Fortress Fallout as your title. It is too easily confusable with the Fallout franchise. So he could have tried to fight it, but he's like, I'm not
It's
going
not worth
to.
it.
In my personal opinion, he would have actually had grounds to win that particular challenge. But
Quite possibly, yes.
yes, I believe that, like in terms of again, Alien versus Hunters instead of Alien versus Predator, like that would work. Every
Yeah.
single production company knows that. Yeah, Fortress Fallout, let's put it like this. It is not an actual Fallout product. All Fallout products have the word Fallout at the beginning, not the second. Bethesda does not have exclusive use of the word Fallout, merely the series title of Fallout.
Exactly.
Scrolls.
Scrolls is
Scrolls,
not.
Alright, I
yes,
actually-
They're very protective.
I have a funny story about Fallout Shelter. So after the E3 conference, I was right when I was starting my new job. I went to a con called Metacon in Minneapolis. There was a VR simulator with mechs and everything fighting. Guess what the name was? And they used a similar brand,
BattleTech?
Fallout Shelter.
Oh.
They had a banner at the con saying Fallout Shelter.
Uh-huh.
And it was a mech fighting simulator. And they were charging money for it.
I wonder whatever happened to that.
I don't know. I never looked it up. I was just thinking, you guys are taking advantage of Fallout.
Well, if it was before Fallout Shelter is announced.
It was
Oh,
after.
After.
It was after.
After. Huh.
I saw it after. They may have had it before Fallout Shelter was announced, but I saw it after.
Well, that
And they used a very similar art style to the Fallout brand.
I'm sure Fallout Shelter was copyrighted long before it was ever even announced. Because that's usually what big
Fallout
developers
Shelter.
do.
Fallout Shelter was in production. They wanted to do it for about 5 years before they were able to do it. There were issues when they originally wanted to create this mobile game, and so it was mostly an internal product in Bethesda that was not even released. But yeah, so the actual legal framework for it had been in place for a minimum of 5 years, I believe.
All right. Well, I guess since we're done with the Axonar and everything, my final opinion is I'm waving the Axonar flag because I actually want some legal standing on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess piracy is not destroying movies and video games. My opinion is whenever companies claim, "Oh, piracy is destroying video games and everything," you can't measure that stuff, and it sounds like you're just having an excuse to back away from providing a good customer experience
Okay.
and putting the effort in.
Sony Dreamcast, utterly destroyed by piracy.
Yeah.
But there was no DRM, there was no secured systems in place. Someone could literally burn a Sony Dreamcast disc and stick it in their system. It was that easy. And unfortunately, because they had no encryption, no secured systems, it was that easy to pirate. I believe that for the most part, piracy comes from, as I said earlier, simply people not being able to obtain the actual product legally. Now, there are some people who will always pirate things, and the reason for that is because they don't have money. But there's a good deal of people with $5 to spend, $10 to spend, and if you give them a reason and an easy way to spend that money, they will spend it. Piracy is actually on the drop, and that's because of Steam, Origin, GOG Gaming. These things are becoming more and more readily available to the common person. I mean, ever since Steam allowed PayPal payments, like, people without credit cards were able to actually, spend money on Steam.
Well, and think about the beauty of things like Humble Bundle. You mean I get like 3 or 4 AAA titles sometimes for $5? What?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing about digital media is while the stuff does age as mechanics-wise and everything, the actual product does not age. So you can put it at $60 at launch and they're just bringing it back down there and just sitting there. And if they're not making money on it, it says $5 for this month or week. And then they start making some money on it.
Say what you will
It's an
about
archive.
console gaming to computer gaming. Once you have a computer and have invested the money in it, computer gaming, the games are way cheaper.
Yeah,
So,
but here's the thing. A lot of people, they go, "Oh, I'm not going to pay $1,000 for a computer." Come on now. You can get a $400 build, basically equivalent to a modern console.
And play everything Xbox 360 and early Xbox One stuff on.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You can then later on, in the future,
Upgrade it.
upgrade it. Yes, exactly. So you don't, over the course of your entire computer's lifetime, you may spend $1,000, but you're going to get a better and better experience, and you can start at an introductory level, which is exactly the same as consoles, for a superior experience.
It just takes a little bit of research, and from my experience, people don't like doing that for some reason.
Not only do people don't like doing research, but people also, it's hilarious, they will just straight up look at a $1,000 PC from, say, Alienware, and they'll be like, "I need to buy this." And like, why? Why? Spend $40 for a good case. Spend another $40 for a power supply. Spend another, when you put all the parts together, you're spending $400 maximum.
PCparts.com says these parts are compatible, and I ordered my computer after doing research. I was a little frustrated with the graphics card, but I mashed up the names. That seemed like it would work. I would return it if it didn't, but I ordered it, put the parts together one day, then second day, I'll upload the operating system. It was running. Then I just had to install all software in 3 days. So if you don't include the shipping, 3 days of work, and then it's done.
I mean, I've spent a lot of money on my computer, but I'll be the first one to admit I probably could have put together a much cheaper computer. I just am one of these people that I want to support the name brands that I like, so I will keep buying their products, So, and that kind of ties into the piracy thing. If you care about a product line, you're going to support it. When it comes to like something like eating your generic round, circle cereal compared to some Cheerios, I'm going to pick the Cheerios because that's what I grew up with and I have fond memories of.
The hardest part for me when building my computer was actually installing the operating system because, you have to load the BIOS correctly.
Yes.
Go into the BIOS menu. And if you're having difficulty with that, find a tech friend or join a tech forum like I joined Linus Tech Tips and they helped me a lot.
Yeah. Here's an example. If for any reason you just cannot be bothered to put your computer together yourself, spend an extra $60. Go to a computer repair place. Say, "For $60, can you assemble this computer for me? Here are all the parts." 99% of the time, a computer repair place will say, "We will take your $60 and assemble this computer."
Because it doesn't take them very much time and effort to put together your computer.
Yeah, and all right, final thoughts. Well, because you said it is a service at this point in time, the reason my opinion was it's more of an excuse for companies to say that they're not providing a good customer experience is because these other companies are doing it and they don't want to do it. So they say, "Oh, this unmeasurable thing we can't measure is happening. That's why our services are not working."
Piracy, not destroying movies and games. The concept is that you cannot measure it, because you don't know how many of those people are never intended on buying the product in the first place. Like, even if they were denied the ability to pirate it, they very well likely would have never been a consumer. They would have never experienced the product had it not been for piracy. They would have never recommended it to their friends, and their friends actually bought the product in earnest, earning them sales that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
That's actually, kind of an interesting thought process there. You know, and that almost kind of ties in with what we do on YouTube when we're showing, video games. How many people are now being exposed to those games that may not have ever played that game before?
Do you know how many people?
I want to say something.
Okay, go on.
Okay, so when it comes to this, politics and everything, everyone seems to focus on what hasn't been done instead of what has been done. And stuff that's measurable to build their argument instead of just waving a banner saying, yay, follow our product because this stuff we say is true and we can't really measure it.
Okay. Here's the thing. Do you know how many people, based on your earlier comment, Rowan, how many people have watched my Warframe video and have actually signed on to Warframe? I guarantee you 3 people, minimum, have spent over $20 on Warframe just to catch up to me, to be where I am, in Warframe, so that they can play in my clan. Now, I've never encouraged them to spend money. I think that if you're going to play a free-to-play game, you should free-to-play it for a little bit, and then, But they went ahead and they spent the money. They earned money for the company because they saw my YouTube live stream of me playing it. That was actual advertising, and you'd be surprised if your game is good and it stands on its own merits, then that game will, watching footage of that game will drive sales. However, if your game is bad and it's measurably bad, people will immediately say, well, I'm not buying that, and it'll damage sales. So in other words, if you have a quality product, there is no reason to fear YouTube videos of your product.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all familiar with the Jim Sterling digital homicide, breakdown there. Recently, Jim Sterling actually played a digital homicide game that he said, yeah, this isn't too bad. It has promise. If they, work on some of the things, it could potentially be okay.
Let me give you my spin on digital homicide really quick. So when you'll notice that almost all digital homicide games have Steam cards. When you sell a Steam card on the market, 5% of that sale goes to I know it was 15% of that sale goes to Steam, 15% of it goes to digital homicide, meaning that 30% of the market is cut. But the point is that digital homicide doesn't sell their games. They're selling their cards to card traders. That's what they're doing. They're at least in my opinion. I don't have any proof on this, but based on the trends that I've been looking at, I'm pretty sure digital homicide is literally just they're pumping out asset flips as quickly as possible to get onto Steam Greenlight to then sell the Steam cards, not the games, the Steam cards.
Maybe they'd be better off if Steam just introduced a card program. Here, design cards and sell cards.
But that devalues the cards.
Yeah,
so
it does.
The problem is that people want to get their Steam rank up, their level up as high as possible. I think I'm Steam level 41 or something like that, and I haven't tried that much. But the people who do try and they're in a level 120 something, and they gotta get more cards. Those people exist.
I was looking at it. I'm like, I own enough games that I could probably jump my Steam level up a ridiculous amount, but I would rather actually get the cards for the game and get the whole set once I've actually completed the game. Kind of like a, final coup d'etat achievement thing.
Here's the thing. Every game you can get the cards 5 times.
Yeah.
So
I saw that.
Yeah.
Plus the foils.
The foils, yes.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Steam's community architecture. It's just
you got to give them credit though. They know that people go nuts for collectibles, and nobody wants to feel like they're missing out, or a good majority of people.
I got burnt out on Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
All right. Any more to say on the piracy not destroying games or movies?
I'm.
I think I've basically said my piece that, there's, like a place for things like YouTube and stuff that some people claim are copyright infringement, and some companies like Nintendo have pursued, up to a certain point aggressively, stating you can't do this. But I think things that celebrate the product are good for it and bring, more people into the fold. Just flat out taking it and claiming it as yours and telling people that, no, I own this, well, that's very clearly stealing it.
Yes. My opinion is that it cannot be judged, it cannot be gauged properly because we don't know purchase intent. And this is something that, okay, when you have anything from a politician making a statement or to a product that you want to sell, you showed the advertisement to as many people as possible. You do it as a kind of like focus groups, a type of thing. Then you gauge what's known as purchase intent, and it's done in every field. Marketing firms will tell you all about it. They won't want to, but they will. And more or less, we don't know the purchase intent of gamers at large. We don't know if this guy is pirating it to try it out. We don't know if the guy is pirating it because he doesn't have money and he never intended to purchase it in the beginning. We don't know if, how this is actually working. We only know that there are people obtaining it without paying for it, which is stealing. And that is wrong. That is morally wrong.
All right, I got a little story. So, music. So basically what I did when I was in college, I have no money. I downloaded the YouTube videos and used Camtasia to strip it out and use it for my audio player. Mm-hmm. Now that I have money, I've deleted all of them and I'm going back in and buying them.
And that shows that you are a good human being and that you had purchase intent.
Yeah.
Yes. Whereas,
but no funds.
I wanted to enjoy it, but I didn't have the money at the time. When I had the chance, I actually flipped on the YouTube playlist I have and listened to it that way while I was working on work instead of using my iTunes.
Yeah.
So they at least got some sort of click for that because most of the music videos are monetized.
But you'll find that what ends up happening, they assume that everyone who pirates a game can't obtain those funds, had the funds to buy it, but instead bought something else because they had that money freed up. That's the company's perspective. And it's not true. 99% of the time it's not true. But that is the perspective of they're destroying games and movies. And, let's face it. If, I hate to say it, but would you want that big theater experience? Like, not everyone is good for theaters. So, is it destroying movies? No. Is it destroying home releases? Possibly. Now, if they put those home releases on YouTube and stuck advertisements on them, you'd be surprised how many people would watch those advertisements to get to their movies.
Oh, easily.
Yes.
Just don't put a 30-minute ad on there, YouTube.
Well, I think YouTube's actually got some kind of thing where you can watch movies. Because I remember I was trying to find some movie and I couldn't find it anywhere. And then on YouTube,
not the internship, the one that was about North Korea.
Yeah, there was like somewhere it's like you have to pay and then you can watch this.
That was his name.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I might actually do that because I can't find it anywhere else. All
I
right.
do recommend everyone check out a movie that was kickstarted and then put on YouTube. It's called Kung Fury.
I actually am going to watch that and review the game and the movie.
All right. Well, just a quick synopsis without spoiling any of the major elements. The main character, he was a cop, and he faced a ninja, and the ninja killed his partner. He was about to get killed by the ninja when he was struck by lightning and bitten by a cobra, at which point he was given the Kung Fu mastery. He became the legend. And it is all done in retro 80s style down
Nice.
to
Violet Blood Dragon.
down to the VHS tape like lines going through the screen.
Yes.
Yes, it is a complete product, and it's perfection in how cheesy and awesome it is.
Please tell me there's a training montage.
I I don't know about that.
Because every 80s movie needs a montage.
There is a montage of some sort, that's for sure.
All right. Well, I guess the last subject we have on the list is Nintendo's Amiibo level lock for HD Zelda for the Amiibo. My opinion. Release the HD game. That's always good because it's nice to have update game and everything. You add a new level, you put it in there, or add it as a DLC, or if you buy the Amiibo, you can download it. Don't put it on the disc. Or put it on the Amiibo too.
They're making their levels like a rare collectible. I mean, they can do what they want, but still, that's kind of...
Okay. Well, let's look at this from a standard product's perspective. You paid X amount for the game in the past. They've re-released the game in HD. How much is that HD actually worth? Probably not full price.
What is it?
So the thing is that they would be adding value to the base game if they put that that Amiibo content into the game normally. But they didn't do that. They locked it behind a wall. Now, I don't have any problems with Amiibos. I don't have any problems with, like, cosmetic stuff. But when you're actually hiding content behind the Amiibo, that feels cheap, and it's cheapening the actual product itself. I don't see a reason to go back when I can play Twilight Princess on an emulator. I own the original Twilight Princess, so I pull out my Steam controller, turn on the emulator, and play the game. That's it's my legal backup copy. So you know, I can't stream it because Nintendo will be like, "You are infringing on our copyrights. We need to take 30% of your income, or 60%, or what is their profit sharing? I don't even know."
It was 60-40, I believe.
60-40. Here's the thing: any high-end YouTuber will tell you that 10% share is reasonable. That YouTubers fought for 10%, and that if you're in a network that's charging you more than 10%, then they are criminally overcharging you, and you need to go to regular YouTube, regular Google profit sharing, because you're being ripped off horribly. And if you say, well, they're giving me X tools, let's...
You can get them yourself.
You can get them yourself, yes. If they say that this network is showcasing your videos, how many look at the Google Analytics. Don't look through their tool. Look through actually, Google Analytics, which is tied to YouTube, and see how many views are actually coming in from that source. You'd be surprised how few people actually watch your videos after watching something from the hub channel. In reality, very few to almost nobody of note watches the hub channel, except for people already in the network. And people already in the network are not benefiting you nearly as much as real subscribers. Collaborations are important. I believe collaborations are the way to succeed. It's why I'm here on the Migrant Thought podcast, everybody. Watch more episodes of this. But at the same time, think for yourself and do not allow a salesman to tell you otherwise. I've spent years in sales. I can tell you that every single join our YouTube network private message I get, it's not an opportunity, it's garbage.
I love how they're like, we will teach you how to make money on your videos and allow you to add thumbnails and descriptions. Cool, because I can do that already.
YouTube
so what's
help.
you offering?
Go to YouTube Help.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so here's the thing. You can put it as a DLC, put it on the Amiibo. I understand if you have DLC architecture and stuff, for example. I'm not saying the day one DLC is a good idea for actual characters and everything, but what they did for Javik for Mass Effect 3, they actually had the architecture in there for them and Kasumi for Mass Effect 2, and they could hack in and get the character model, but nothing else. If that came out later, but they intended to release it, I'm fine with that because you need the architecture in the game, but at the same time, you can also add a patch to add it in the first place and put just very bare-bone placeholders in there too. and just make it an invisible model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it always has to be from an external source. It can't be on the disc. No Capcom fighting or characters on fighting games.
Yeah, but
Yes.
honestly, whenever you give me a game that has quote unquote day one DLC content on the disc that's locked off, I will go out of my way to get a patch or a crack or a hack to gain access to what is mine. I'm looking at the camera right now. Okay? So you cannot hide things behind a wall. Yes, if it's a competitive game, if it's an online game, if it's a game where they have a closed system that is, again, online, I understand it. But if it's a single player game, you cannot bar off content. When you buy that disc, you gain access to all the information on that disc, whether the company wants you to have access to it or not. You can do it with that disc as you please. Now, here's the thing: we don't actually own games. That's the ridiculous part.
It's a license.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are licensed to use that software. But you'd be surprised. Go to the EU. In the EU, 99% of the I agree buttons are not valid. And very interesting thing about the EU also is that when you click I agree, all of the clauses in that contract that benefit you are still valid. All of the ones that are detrimental to you are not valid. I'm not saying this from I know the law perspective, but I've heard from several people exactly how the EU laws work. And again, research it yourself. I'm not liable, but but yes, people in the EU will always click I agree because oh my goodness, the contract as a whole is still valid, but all of the things that are detrimental to the consumer are not upheld. And it's like, wow.
So here's the best part of those, agreements that pop up before you play a lot of games, especially computer games and online stuff.
Yeah.
So you just bought the game. Now they're telling you, unless you click yes, this is worthless. Because if you click no, 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 you can't play.
That's right.
It'll go back to the do you accept screen. So they're basically holding you over a barrel saying, well, you just gave us money. Thanks for that. But you can't have the game unless you actually, sign here, 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 and don't mind what it says inside because nobody's going to read that.
I want to do an editorial on companies making their own environments for the customers and there being no middleman and what should be acceptable and what shouldn't.
Yeah, I think that would be a good topic to cover as well.
I think, there's MMORPGs to talk about. There's all these games that
Halo
aren't
5.
Yeah, there are games that aren't MMORPGs but have all these quote-unquote freemium elements. We're talking about like the haves and have-not system, the psychological trickery involved. There's plenty of topics to talk on this. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and break the entire chain of topics by telling you guys that on the Fine Brothers subscriber count, while we are here, they have lost 1,430 subscribers.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, with an average of 27 subscribers lost per minute.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, if I could gain a tenth of that per day, I'd be sitting pretty. Jeez. Just, wow. I can't believe that they have done this to their channel. You have to believe that somewhere deep down there was that little voice saying, this is a terrible idea.
Okay.
People are going to be so
Again,
mad.
I'm telling you that they really want to be big Hollywood types. They had a show on Nickelodeon that was canceled, okay? That's how ridiculous this is. They wanted to be big. I'm certain that their lawyers and or people, someone says, lock it down, lock it all down. They're stealing your stuff. And it's like some guy in some meeting room sold them on this. I'm almost certain. Like they actually, I want to believe that they were skeptical on this originally, and then someone sold them on this and made them believe what they were saying was true. You're gonna change the world. And then when everything started to go downhill, they're like, okay, we can just do some damage control. We'll still be good. And then you could see by the third video they were defeated.
Their lawyers are jumping out the windows like, goodbye.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, reminds me of American Dad, or not American Dad episode. The kid is getting all rich and everything, and he has an actor that's going to portray him, and then the lawyer walks in after seeing the pool after the alien kills his double. He
Yeah.
says, "He's dead in your pool." Jumps over the brush and leaves.
Ugh.
So, do we want to start wrapping up at this point?
I think so.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the amiibo thingy?
Well, my biggest thought right there is that I can understand companies wanting to sell us additional product, and I definitely agree with Zarek that that is a complete just jerk move to give you a product and be like, well, here's the whole pie, but half of it's got a padlock on it, and you can't have it until we have more money. But you handed me the pie. I've got a pair of pliers to try and pull this padlock off, so I'm gonna eat this pie.
Yeah.
But with the amiibo thing, what really kind of upsets me there is amiibos are notoriously hard to get.
It's
So
true.
if you really want this, you're now not just paying the retail value, you might be battling it out online, paying exorbitant
Third-party
prices. Yeah. Like,
Yep.
let's not even get into what I had to pay for those Nuka-Cola Quantums, because I really, really wanted them, and I wasn't going to not get them. It's when that happens, it's frustrating.
My opinion is the Amiibos are a result of bad decisions made by Nintendo, and they're trying to stay afloat. I know they have vaults of money and everything, and bad business practices that are petty or bad for the consumer are a result of financial loss, and they're trying to recoup it. If this NX goes off, I'm sure the Amiibos will start being cleaned up and more streamlined, and they're probably going to release a third party or not third party amiibo that just unlocks everything on these contents that's already gone there, and they can release a yearly one that unlocks everything. I know they were trying to go after a company that was trying to create a third party one that would unlock everything. They said, you're suing our copyright and everything, when it was like a Mad Catz. It wasn't Mad Catz, but a company like that. And I don't like the idea of the amiibos. I'm tempted to buy a Mewtwo and a Link because I like figurines, but I would
The
never buy
figurines
them
are
for,
cool.
Yeah,
They're
I
really
would
cool.
never buy them for actual content.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: is that one, you're never going to be able to get a figurine of that. Like, assuming you don't buy it online, assuming you buy it like in a storefront, you're never going to be able to get a figurine of that size, of that quality, for that price, ever.
Yes.
So that's where amiibos win. Now,
Absolutely.
as far as Nintendo goes, you have to remember they're a Japanese-based company. And, I mean, just like there was that Dead or Alive Extreme 3 not being put in the United States and Europe, and people screamed,
with Drive.
SJW's taking our game away. Well, people don't understand the Japanese market versus the American market and how the financials work. People see like, oh, they sell more of X here, therefore they've made more money. That is not how it works. How it works is you have to spend more money to make money outside of Japan. In Japan, these things are readily available because they are easy. You can produce them locally and sell them locally. When you have to ship these things overseas or contract with third-party production plants to produce them and then ship them out, you're spending an exorbitant amount of money. And it's not convenient for them to produce these worldwide. Their money isn't going straight to Nintendo. It's kind of being split up amongst other sources. They're not making as large a profit selling amiibos in other countries. So when you want to get say you are a Japanese citizen and you want to get an amiibo, you can, as long as you do it within the the opening week or two, you're going to find every amiibo you want. They're available to those who want them locally. It's the foreign markets where Nintendo has no idea what the fuck they're doing, and this is evident via YouTube. It's evident via a lot of the things they do. Now, there is a localization office with Nintendo that actually does remove a lot of content that Japanese sensibilities say is good, but American and European sensibilities say is bad. That's why boob sliders have been removed from games. And then people scream, SJWs! SJWs have nothing to do with it. It is the localization office of Nintendo, which is driven by popular opinions that have existed since the 90s.
That's actually one of the reasons why in Europe you can find bread stands and fresh fruit on every corner, and in the U.S. you find a McDonald's or a Burger King.
Yeah, it's culture.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Yeah, go ahead.
So, to wrap this up, I don't believe that Nintendo's amiibo scarcity is because they want it to be scarce. I believe it's because they're incompetent. And I believe that they're incompetent on an international level, not a local level. On a local level, I believe that they have enough funds to continue doing what they're doing for another 30 years or so.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not to mention that those special amiibos that were stolen in Europe, and they said they would only refund 2 of them instead of the 3.
I hadn't even heard about
And
that.
the funny thing is, if those get out on the market, they could track them.
Wow.
Yep.
All right, well, I guess we'll round up with socials. So, me, Matt Allen Z, or Migrant Thought, you can find me on the YouTubes at the Migrant Thought YouTube channel and at Matt Allen Z on Twitter. Rowan, your socials?
I am Roawyn on YouTube and Roawyn _ on Twitter. And you can find all the links on my YouTube channel. So, I also have Roawyn on Twitch, but I haven't had a lot of free time to do much streaming. It's something that I'm hoping to have the ability to do more in the future, but right now it's kind of on the back burner.
Zarek, you?
All right, so I'm Zarek Zhakaron. You can find me at YouTube /Zhakaron. That's Zhakaron. As for Twitter, that's where most of my news goes whenever I'm going to announce a stream or anything like that. Twitter.com /Zarek, Z-A-R-I-C. Easy peasy. I do Skyrim stuff. Again, I do lots of open world games, and I just pretty much have fun. I recommend, I'm actually going to go ahead and post a video of me talking right here to my YouTube channel, directing everyone to this particular podcast because I recommend listening to it. Now,
YouTubeception.
YouTubeception. Exactly.
Mind blown.
Get excited, everyone.
Well, you can find all those doodads on the description below. Anyone else got anything to say?
I basically say thank you guys very much for watching. It's been fun, and I hope you guys want to weigh in on the topics below in the comments section.
Yep, and so put your opinions down in the comments below.
If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you dislike this video, give it a dislike. But either way, please leave a comment. We want to hear your feedback. Now,
let's end this. So until next time, au revoir, and remember to kiss your alien people.
Bye-bye.
Bye.